Hey, what is up you guys? Sam here. And today I'm bringing you the Advanced Resto Druid Guide. If you're looking for the stat priority, talents, glyphs, and playstyle, then you could go find that on my basics guide, which is on my YouTube channel. This guide is going to be more about like utility and things you can do with Blink and Soothe and all that other stuff, so let's get started. The first thing, and probably most importantly, would be Cyclone. You probably all know what Cyclone is. Maybe not all of you know where to use it or how, but you probably all know what it is. It's the 6-second invulnerable CC. And there's a few ways that you can use Cyclone to benefit your team. The most obvious one being on the enemy healer. And if there's still a bunch of pressure coming out or the enemy team is bursting, you can Cyclone one of the DPS. Then there's the third one that not a whole lot of people, well, I pretty much never see people do it unless I'm watching people that are really high rated or anything like that. And that would be on the kill target. So let's say your team is out of damage. Like they aren't doing any damage, they're just tickling the enemy. And we're all at a CC for their healer. And the target's low, but not for long if the healer's up, and you can't CC the healer since it's fully DR'd. What you can do is Cyclone the kill target so he can't be healed. If your trinket's this, then you can try and get it again, but at that point it might not be worth it. But the main goal is to stop incoming healing and stop the healer from being able to use cooldowns on him until you can start CCing the healer again or you have damage to finish him. Another really good time to use Cyclone on a kill target is if a Shadow Priest disperses, if a monk uses his bubble on it, or if they use some sort of major defensive that you can't kill through. Now, the thing about Cyclone is that the range is only 20 yards, 25 if glyphed. So you gotta be really careful not to get yourself stuck in a situation where you can easily be CC'd by the enemy DPS, or you can completely defeat the purpose of CCing their healer. Next thing I want to talk about is Blink. And when I say Blink, I'm talking about the 15 talent Displacer Beast, since it's very similar to Mage Blink. Anyway, there's a lot of really good things you can do with this Blink, such as blinking traps, blinking fears, blinking CC in general, blinking into CC, and blinking away to safety. And the first one being trap. Since there's a lot of hunters right now with their really short cooldown traps, you can use blink when you think they're going to trap, and you can easily dodge it by doing that. And a lot of hunters can be pretty predictable. They'll concussive shot you before they trap, or they'll run up to you. To blink a fear or CC in general, you can blink away. 20-yard blink, so if you're already 20 yards away, you can easily range people doing this. And to blink into CC, you can blink from one pillar and get to their pillar. You never want to really be without a pillar, but it makes it really quick travel time to get there. And the last thing would be to get away from the enemies. Blink back to your pillar, or blink away in general from enemy melee or even ranged. There's so many possibilities for this blink talent that makes it so much better than the other two. One last thing I forgot to mention with Blink is that you can blink a Psychic Stream or a Warlock Howl of Terror, which is basically the area of effect fear. They're pretty predictable. Like if an enemy priest is running right at you, they're very likely going to fear you. So right before they get into range, you blink away and they'll usually use it anyway. Now, this next trick is only really useful for Night Elves, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But basically you can use Shadow Mode to prevent anything. You can use it right before a cast goes off and the cast won't go off. You can use it right as the cast goes off and it will still go off, but it won't hit you. So it can waste a cooldown or something like that. And lastly, you can use it to get out of combat to drink quickly. Now this next thing is something I don't see a whole lot of people doing, but it's very effective against anything within rage, which is mostly warriors. You can use it to purge their enrage effect, which increases their damage by a lot. I don't know exactly how much. I don't play a warrior, but you can use Soothe on them, and their damage will be decreased and their movement speed will be decreased if they have enrage up. So now in this current state of the game, there is a lot of melee and a lot of burst, specifically physical damage burst. So bear form is extremely good against this. If you can manage to bear form like a rogue stun or a DK stun, or pretty much any stun, or even just bear form in general, it increases your armor by 250%, which is really useful. it can save your life a lot, especially if you use it on stuns. Now, something you want to do against rogues is you want to bear form every kidney, or you'll just die in a stun, or you'll have to trinket, or the bark skin. You'll have to use other things you wouldn't normally have to use, important things. If you can bear form their opener, you should live through it. You may have to use bark skin, but at least you won't have to use trinket, which is basically a cooldown. Rogues will usually use their kidney shot at like certain times, or even you can bear form their cheap shot. Usually, if they use Groat first, that is. But you'll just have to watch your enemy, and it'll teach you to predict a little better, especially if you go against them more than once at a time, or in a row. The next thing I want to talk about is another thing I don't see a whole lot of people doing, and it's fake casting. Fake casting can be really important if you don't want to get interrupted and you need to get a certain cast off. But a lot of people don't seem to know exactly how to fake cast. They try, but there's a certain way you kind of need to do it. So the first cast, you want to start with about 1/4 of the cast. Like, let's say you have a cast that's 2 seconds long. You want to start with about half a second, or maybe 1/4 of a second, depending on what you're going against, and then stop the cast. You can watch like your add-on, or you can listen for kick or whatever. I don't really know how to do it if you don't have an add-on, but you need to watch to see if they use their interrupt. If they don't, then you can go about half the cast and then stop and see if they use their interrupt. If they still don't, 1/3 of the cast, which would be, in that example that I used, 1 second, about 1.5 seconds. And they still don't do it, then I guess you just try and cast and hope they don't kick. But most people above 1500 rating will kick you. So you want to try and figure out what they do, and they'll try and figure out what you do. If they're going to learn by how you're doing it to not kick the first time or not kick the second time or whatever, so you want to kind of stay unpredictable and just hope that you can outplay them. You can usually go a full game only being kicked once or twice just by using that trick and figuring out what they do. If they kick really quickly, you want to start and stop really quickly. If they kick like 3/4 in the cast, like people usually do it either right away or almost at the end of the cast. You want to stop almost at the end of the cast, they'll usually use it. And lastly, if they kick instantly, in this kick bot, there's nothing you can really do about that. You just kind of have to get kicked. Especially as a druid, there's nothing you can cast to trick it, which is kind of unfortunate. Hopefully these people that use kickbot will be banned sooner or later. And I wanted to quickly go over Barkskin. It's a 1 minute cooldown. Reduces damage taken by 20%, and if glyph reduces chance you can be critically hit by 25%. And the important thing about Barkskin is that it can be used in stuns or in CCs. But the problem is that I see a lot of druids, well, not a whole lot, but a lot at low rating use this anytime they get stunned, even if they aren't being attacked, which is not optimal. You only want to use this if you're sure you will die. If you're in bear form for the stun, you should be fine. If you have full hots, you should be fine. If you have full hots and in bear form, you have no reason to use Barkskin at all. Now the last thing you can do specifically as a druid is you can shapeshift for hexes, polymorphs, and roots. If you see a mage casting polymorph, you can go into cat form, bear form, or even travel form, and polymorph will not work. If you see a shaman casting hex, you can do it even more crucial against a shaman because their hex has a cooldown. It'll still use a cooldown, but it will not hex you. And if you're trying to get away, you can shapeshift and shift back or do whatever. Shifting in general will get you out of roots or snares. So this last tip is for any healer in general, is you have, with pretty much any team composition, you have a lot of things from your DPS that can help you or help them. Such as bot from a ret, sack from a ret to get you out of CC, sack from a hunter to prevent crits on any of your teammates, off heals from any hybrid, life grip from a priest. There's so many things that DPS can do that a lot won't do that you just need to make them do. Or you need to play with different people if you want to get high rating. But usually most people will do it if you start calling for it. So that's it for this guide. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. And as I learn more about the Druid class and Arena in general, I'll possibly be making another guide. But I wouldn't expect that anytime soon. Subscribe if you want to see more. Possibly making guides on other classes such as Hunter or Shaman. Anything that I really play and know a lot about. And if you want to watch me live, go to my stream, which will be linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and one more thing, once again I'm going to be linking the Google Doc in the description with the outline of the video, so feel free to check that out too.